potential. If your motivation for becoming rich is getting more women, you have to think about the quality of women. If it takes money to access her, you are replaceable.
And I want to start with a quote from you.
This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be responding to Sadia, I don't know how to say it, Khan. She's been taking the internet by storm. I actually love her content. I love her takes on everything. I feel like she's fresh, new insights versus people that have been spinning the same shit over and over. So we're going to find her personality type today. We use Linda Barrens Interaction style combined with cognitive functions. And we are still doing the free typing sessions by us. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, join the Facebook group or Discord, and message our moderator Cody, and he'll get back with you with an availability. People are charging $100, $200, $300 for typing. We're doing it absolutely free, and I do think we might be the best on the internet. We might be straight up the best on the internet. And if we feel as though, when I review sessions, if we feel as though something's off, we'll bring you back in. We have absolutely no problem doing that, and we do this absolutely free. So go ahead and give us a thumbs up and a comment, and drop a celebrity you want us to type, and comment below what you think Sadia Khan's type is, just visually. Okay, I can say she's pretty well dressed, she looks good, nice makeup, yeah. So let's go see what the whale shit people got, or monkeys, whatever you want to call them. Personality database, they have her as a ENFJ. Okay, so let's look at the chart here. So ENFJs are direct, they're outcome focused, they're initiating, they're affiliative, they're abstract, they're interest based, and they're TIFE SENI. And the quick thing to find, I told you guys about in one of the videos how to find if someone's an NF real quick. If they are affiliative and they know what they want, and they're always talking about what they want, or they're talking about what other people doing, and they're affiliative, automatic NFJ. Automatic. That's a little quick trick there to find an NFJ very quickly. That eliminates the entire board. But let's get into it. Let's see what she is. And we have our metrics here. And as we slowly get 5 of them, we're going to start eliminating down. I have to admit, I have to redo Tom Bellew. I actually got his type wrong when I initially typed him. I think I typed him INTJ. He's actually ENTP. So, like I said, we're all about getting these right. So, in the future, I will be taking down that video and redoing him. He is an ENTP.
I may. What social media is doing, what this woke culture is doing, is destroying femininity and replacing it with narcissism and telling them that's feminism. Now, you've also said that modern dating is just training for divorce. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had
modern dating is training for divorce, that's outcome.
Specific, what problems is modern dating creating exactly? And if you could control the social media algorithms, what values would you want to present to people to make them
Tom's talking about what she wants, so
better at romantic relationships?
What an amazing question. Thank you for asking such an insightful question. I think what's happened, and I don't mean to blame the audience, the reality is we're not designed for this level of exposure to human beings as we are being exposed to in this current climate. We have social media, we have internet, we have dating apps, we have the ability to get webcam girls, pornography. We have such an exposure to human.
She's outcome. This outcome. Okay.
That we've never been able to do, or nor are we prepared for. So what's happened is when it comes to forming relationships, it's done the opposite. What it's done is made people crave connections but have no idea where to start and how to connect.
Talking about connections, connect, that's FE, FE. So we're going to hit her for FE there. Connections. And if you need to figure out the cognitive functions, we have the videos. Just go to the playlist, cognitive functions. Watch those. You will become a lot better. I promise you that.
So the reality is, what I mean when I say we've turned narcissism into and labeled it as feminism, unfortunately, the advent of social media has accelerated the status of women far more than it has for men. What social media has done is allowed women a platform to kind of showcase their body, their preferences, basically put themselves on the marketplace. Men don't really have that same access, so we're creating that division between them. And what it's done is allowed women to leverage their beauty in a way that they've never been able to do before. Before, if you were a beautiful girl, you were just beautiful in your city, and people would like you, but you'd marry the guy in the city and you'd have a great life. Unfortunately, now if you're a beautiful girl, you can
Talking about outcomes.
be a beautiful girl to the world, and you can have 1 million followers. So it makes every man disposable. Any man she's with essentially becomes disposable. So unfortunately, what's happening is women are learning that they become this almost like a deity in terms of beauty in a way that they've never had before. So that's what I think is happening for women. In terms of men, the main problem that's occurring is the access to pornography and the access to beautiful women. What that is doing is them seeing all these beautiful girls thinking, I want those girls, but I don't want rejection. So what I'll do is find a way to access those girls, and it comes in the form of pornography or webcams or anything like that. So what's happening is we're distancing the sexes from each other through the advent of the internet.
I better not catch not now fucking Mongolian Mindset member going and looking at any fucking webcam girl. I'd rather you sell your fucking soul before you do that bullshit. Do not.
And if I could control the algorithm, I would wish there was a way of people being as honest and sincere as they possibly could be, and removing the idea of trying to protect themselves in the form of idolizing money or sex, because that's usually what people are doing. They're protecting themselves. They're going into relationships.
What people are doing. She's been hitting SE earlier as well. She's hitting like they stuff like that. You. She's looking like a SENI user. She's got a ton of makeup on too. It's more SENI. Look at her all dressed up. Yeah, this woman is looking like ENFJ. Personality database might be right for a change, but they only had 10 votes. So I guarantee if you give them time, they fuck that up too.
I just want someone rich, or a man is protecting his ego saying I just want someone who's good at sex. They don't really want to get vulnerable with each other. I wish people could put that aside and put their true values of vulnerability and authenticity as a forefront, and then the algorithm could find them somebody along those lines rather than feeding their ego.
It's an amazing breakdown.
That sounds like some NF shit right there, boy. All right.
The problem set. What's the point of a relationship?
I would imagine the point of a relationship is to kind of create a shared meaning and purpose. Now, throughout history, that's always been to create a family.
I'm hitting her for affiliative. I don't care what no one says. She's off my board for affiliative. I mean, all that shit is just straight affiliative. So we're going to go ahead and take affiliative off the board. She is affiliative. Let's go and hit that quick. So affiliative means that they care about doing the right thing. They care about connections with people. They care about doing the right thing. Cooperation, things like that. That's all she's hitting at right there. So we're gonna go ahead and hit her with that. She is like, that's just off the board. She's affiliative. So with her being affiliative, oh no, not like that. With her being affiliative, and it's looking like she's got some SC there. We could roll this out quick, but we're gonna take our time. We like her content.
Like a shared meaning and purpose, but it doesn't have to be primarily a family. I've noticed in couples that don't embark on a family, they find a shared meaning and purpose in the form of a business or in the form of shared extended families. Maybe their brothers and sisters get on really well, maybe they have nieces and nephews or whatever. They create a shared meaning and purpose.
They SE outcomes.
Now, relationships which lack a shared meaning and purpose in the form of either parenting or same values or anything, they tend to end up drifting apart.
You hear these values, they end up drifting apart.
So the purpose of a relationship is somebody that you can enjoy life with whilst maintaining a shared purpose and meaning that is aligned to one another.
I have a growing thesis.
If you look at Linda Barrens' book, NF's about purpose and meaning. Purpose and meaning is their thing. NTs are about mastery, mastery, and god damn, I can't remember that shit off the top of my head. But they're about NT's about mastery, and I want to say self-control. Damn, my brain's going dead on me. Damn. Let me look
about why modern dating is as problematic as it is. What is it about social media? I had never come to the conclusion that this is access to too many people problem. The thing that I worry about is that what the algorithms end up doing is they
See, he's talking about the system.
fragment us so that whether it's OnlyFans or pornography, you're able to pick a very narrow thing that you want, and you can indulge so deeply in that thing that you lose sight of what you're calling shared meaning and purpose. I always think of it as shared narratives.
Okay.
If we don't share an understanding of...
He just hit us with a TI statement from him. Catalysts are meaning and significant, unique identity. Theorists are mastery and self-control, knowledge and competence. Improvisers are freedom to act now, ability to make an impact. Stabilizers membership or belonging, responsibility or duty. Okay.
What the purpose of a relationship is, then we're approaching the problem with a distorted frame of reference. Now,
so he's talking about system again, frame of work, frame of reference.
Audience has heard me talk a lot about frame of reference, but just to set the table for this conversation. So your frame of reference is the distorted lens through
and then he's defining it, TI,
which you view the entire world.
Right.
There's no way for it not to be distorted. Without getting into postmodernism, while I violently disagree with the postmodernist interpretation of the world, I understand how they end up going down that path because identifying what is objectively true is very difficult when we have a brain that has to simplify the world. And to simplify it, it basically creates a simulation.
Right.
So he's systematic, abstract. Get him out of here. He's the ENTP.
And so we view the simulation and mistake it for objective reality.
Right.
So the algorithms allow you to really unintentionally get this hyper distorted view of what the world is, what women is, what a relationship is, what sex is, but you don't realize it's happening.
Right.
So you don't realize that you're coming to a
distorted.
conclusion about what a relationship is. It just happens.
Right.
And so you get the red pill or
Right.
you get the black pill, right?
Yeah.
And you get people that have...
You see how he walked all the way through it of a progression, and then he got to the red pill, and you see how she just like listing outcomes.
A very unhelpful
a good video to show progression versus outcomes
setup in terms of if you're right and relationships are about shared meaning.
If you're right, TI,
and purpose, I think you and I would both agree that the North Star, when you think about living your life well, is human flourishing.
Yeah.
What is going to... It's not happiness, I call it fulfillment, but if you think of it as what's going to make me feel good in the widest variety of situations possible, that sort of gets you in the right direction. So this hyperfragmentation, creation of a distorted lens by which you value what relationships are, then lead people down a road where they don't flourish.
You see all that deductive reasoning there from Tom? Okay, that's all TI.
Right.
So it's interesting that you singled in on this idea of shared meaning and purpose. So if we have access to too many people,
here this motherfucker go again, TI.
How do we begin building shared meaning and purpose when we get together in relationships?
Well, the thing is, unfortunately, we have to look at our values. And once we know what our values are, we have to start learning to reject rather than glorifying the one ingredient we like. So what I mean by that is, say, for example, I meet a man who just glorifies beauty. Having a beautiful partner, it monopolizes his brain. So what will happen is he might meet a beautiful woman, and the beauty of her will allow him to kind of submit to all of her demands, no matter how unreasonable they are. So she might be asking for more money than he's prepared to give, or she might be disrespectful, she might be cheating on him, she might be doing this. They're forgetting all of what the ingredients a healthy relationship looks like and focusing on an egotistical desire. Similarly, if a man has money, a woman might ignore all of the other red flags and just glorify this one extrinsic trait. So what I would say is, if you want to start a healthy relationship, make sure you have a balance of values, what you really look for in a relationship, rather than what you
TIFE from this woman. Come on, synergisms. Come
look
on.
for to boost your ego. The people that glorify one ingredient tend to have lacked that at some stage in their life, or lacked access to that at some stage. So they glorify it and they allow
They glorify this. They get this. SE.
behaviors to be ignored, but then it eventually leads to a divorce. It eventually leads to children's homes being broken down. It eventually leads to people being crippled in the future when it comes.
All right, so we got a future focus out over there. That's abstract, and that's outcome. That's off the board. So outcomes off the board. So she's outcome and affiliative. So right now you're looking at your ESTJ, your ISFJ, your ENFJ, and INFP. Okay, and she's a TI user, so it's about to be down quick. Down goes
to starting relationships again. It's so destructive. So I would say, if you want a healthy relationship, have a look at your values and make sure that they are healthy. And is the person you're attaching to ticking all of the boxes, or are they just
That's all affiliative shit.
fulfilling an egotistical desire that you have at the moment?
All right, I've heard you say that you actually understand the logic of arranged marriages.
Yes.
And if I understood correctly,
Yeah.
because of this idea of shared values.
Yes.
What is the logic of an arranged marriage?
Essentially, what psychology has always found is when two people come from similar backgrounds, they have a higher rate of them becoming successful in a relationship, only because they understand each other's norms and values in a way that nobody else can. If I understand that, let's say, for example, silent treatment was given in my house, I know to give you silent, you're giving me silent treatment, we'll get back to normal. I understand that pathology in you. Or if I understand that, it can
The interest there, that's interest. Knows what motivates people, or motivations with people.
even be in a toxic way. If I understand sometimes some people swear at each other, then you get back together. We understand each other's norms and values. What arranged marriages do is two parents will choose parents who are similar to them. So what will happen is they have children who have been raised relatively similar. So those two people, when they get together, tend to have shared norms and values. So there's an element of unspoken understanding that doesn't exist when two people in the real world just meeting each other randomly, especially now that we have dating apps and I can meet a man in Colombia and a Colombian man can meet a woman in Ghana. It's so different. So we're only going to end up
I can, that's NE.
Attaching on egotistical desires, either because we like each other, the way each other's looks, or we might get on with the same music, or might have the same taste in movies, but our actual upbringings are very difficult and different, and norms and values are very different. So that's why I think I can understand the logic behind arranged marriages more now than ever before.
Now, would you...
So she's talking about it making sense to her now. That's TI. Come on.
Actually, would you like your parents to arrange your marriage?
I always rebelled against it, but now I wish I listened.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes I'm now like, oh, maybe I should have listened. Only because there was...
Rebellious will go on the pragmatic there, but we know this woman is affiliative.
An element of you just assume you're losing your autonomy, but what you're actually doing is you're trusting the process a little bit more. So I think I could have probably made it work more when I was younger, but at the time, because I felt so controlled in other areas of my life, this is the one area where they gave me some leeway. So I was like, you're not controlling that part. But had they been more lenient in other areas, I probably would have allowed them more insight into the partner I choose.
That's interesting. Are you married?
No.
So it's not too late.
It's not too late, but I am committed.
Oh, so you're in a relationship.
Yeah,
Got it. Now, how does he feel about you saying, maybe I should have let him?
About how he feels, that's Tom.
I think the thing is, because I'm so traditional at heart, he understands where this comes from.
I'm so traditional at heart, affiliative.
Obviously, we're lucky that we have the same norms and values. It's just we got lucky. But because I have a very traditional mindset, and I don't know how or why, I
don't know how or why, because you're affiliative.
London. I grew up in an entirely English school. I didn't have any Muslim or Pakistani friends, but for some reason I kind of found myself orientated towards a traditional value system, and I really don't know where it came from, but I just internalized those traditional values from a really young age, and so now I can always see things from the lens of tradition rather than in the lens of modernism, and I don't know why.
It's interesting.
So
Were you
affiliative.
traditional, as I assume the traditional values came from your family?
And religion. Do you know what it was? I
Interesting.
naturally got attached to God from quite a young age. I don't know what it was. I started to feel like I couldn't trust people, so I started putting trust in God. And I think what happens then through life, I ended up looking at life through the lens of religion. And if it was acceptable by religion, then I probably would question it less. But if it was going against religion, I would start questioning what's going on in society.
So that's FE, because religion is shared values. FI is your morals. That's totally different. Like, yeah, like I like the Bible and everything, but I don't like it impeding on my morals. I feel as though I have my own morals and I follow my own morals. I don't need the Bible to tell me. She needs the Bible. FE.
And that led me to kind of forming my own opinion. So I'd quit.
Let's go back, guys. So she is a TIFE user. And now we're down to ISFJ and ENFJ based off that. Woo!
Question things more, particularly because
Okay, and you should ask yourself, does she sound like an SI user? Does she sound like an SE user? Does she sound abstract? Does she sound concrete? Does she sound systematic? Or does she sound interest?
everything I was around was against what I was being told by God. So I'd end up questioning it, and I found my own kind of rhythm with psychology.
Very interesting. Okay, so I want to understand, as you're taking on these traditional values,
Yeah.
you're somebody who's very aware of the soup of life that you're in.
Yeah.
For people that know your content, they've seen you talk a lot about you are of the culture. Like, you're from Dubai, not from Dubai, but you live in Dubai now. When you talk about modern dating, you're talking about it from that perspective. This is what it's like. This is what I see. You coach in this area. So you definitely get the space. I would assume that's something you've always been good at. So I'm curious, as you were growing up, you're weighing sort of, okay, religion is telling me this. I see people doing the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Were you looking at that and going, it doesn't seem to make them happy? Was that the thing that you checked it against?
I think so. I think what happened is I had a choice, especially now, like living abroad away from, the prying eyes of parents or anything. I had a choice. I could either live my life accordance to the rules of God, or I could be like, screw that, I'm doing the exact opposite of what I've been told by God, which is what a lot of religious people do when they finally find freedom. But when I looked at doing the opposite of what God prescribed, I found that it looked like mayhem. So
It
for
looks
example,
like
I'm not
mayhem. So it's talking about chaos. So if she's talking about she doesn't like chaos, that's going to be anti-movement. So outcome.
allowed to drink. The opposite would be to get really drunk. But when I would see people doing that, it didn't look like something I would enjoy.
I would see people doing that. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. That's SE.
I'm not allowed
Hardcore
to
SE.
have like sex and all this stuff and casual. When I looked at people who were enjoying in that, I saw the negative consequences of children, like, and then having the
She
abortion
has consequential awareness. That'd be any.
debate and all these things, and I just thought doing the opposite doesn't look healthy psychologically. So I ended up going more towards a tradition while staying very alert and aware of what was going on in the real world, because all my friends do indulge and I'm not judgmental. So I ended
Talking
up
about what all my friends are doing. That's SENI. Yeah.
being really good friends with people who do, but I just realized it wasn't good for me personally.
Ooh.
I'm not going to judge you because I'm FE Dom.
Do you really think it's just you personally, or do you not think it's pretty universal?
I would say it's universal, but I don't want to put my views on
Offend
there. But for me,
I don't want to put my views. Okay.
just feel no rule. And I know it's like a lot of people find my religion misogynistic and they find it really negative, but there was no rule. When I look at the opposite, did I think the opposite is better? For example, we might have, as women, have to cover, I know
Talking about outcomes again.
I don't, but we're supposed to cover. When I look at what the opposite looks like, the opposite might be like pornography, women, OnlyFans. That the opposite doesn't look healthy to me. I'm sure there's a good middle ground, but when we live in quite a polarizing kind of universe, I know which side I'd rather.
Polarizing universe. We went abstract.
be on. And so that's what made me always, every time I see the opposite, and because I live in a world now, because of technology, I can literally see what the opposite of religion looks like. It looks like OnlyFans, it looks like, you know, through like lots of sexual promiscuity, it looks like getting drunk a lot. I just thought the opposite doesn't make sense to me. So it means that the restrictions actually might be healthy for me personally.
It's interesting. So
do you drink alcohol?
I do occasionally.
She just fucking initiated. Do you drink alcohol?
But not very often.
How come?
It makes me feel like I'm suppressing the urge to dance on a table, which is wonderful, and I love that feeling. The reason I don't do it is entirely because it's brutal on the body.
Right.
And so I don't like the way it makes me feel the next day, and I worry that it shortens my lifespan.
Right.
But if it didn't make me feel bad, I would have
worry. Any short lifespan, SI inferior.
no problem doing it on the weekends and having fun. I'm a hyper disciplined, goal oriented person, so I'd never do it during the week. That's a whole different thing.
Right.
So I want to go back to religion. So I grow increasingly fascinated by the role of religion, why it lasted as long as it did, why it seemed to dip for a while and seems to be coming back.
Yeah.
My hypothesis goes like this. I think it's
Hypothesis, that's abstract.
something
That's hardcore NT.
like religion was, humans are a storytelling species. That's what we do. We are all about simplifying the world, turning it into a meme that can be passed on, and religion is the ultimate meme spreader.
Right.
And so when something works, and you're Islamic?
Yeah.
Okay. So to use a law that you guys put in place, don't eat pork.
Yeah.
Now, my gut instinct is that the reason that became true is because of
Became true, T.I.
trichinosis, I think is the thing if you undercook pork.
Yeah.
And so you don't necessarily, you don't have the scientific data to back up, but you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so you're like, that's not a great idea.
A lot of shit in the Bible was they probably was shitting their brains out and they thought, oh my God, this is God punishment, we can't eat this. And every time they ate the pork, they were shitting their brains out. And you know what? They said, oh my God, God's punishing you. We're not eating that no more.
Yeah.
And in trying to explain it to people, it ends up becoming a part of oral tradition at first, of course, and then ultimately gets written down, and that becomes the word of God.
Yeah.
And so it is a very useful tactic, whether on purpose or on accident. I don't know, how this ends up forming, but it is a very useful thing to put it in the mouth of God and say, God says don't do this thing.
To like legitimize it.
Yeah, exactly. So don't have kids out of wedlock. Why? Because they are less likely to survive, right? So I think religion ultimately is basically,
I think T.I.
the ultimate way to get a very good idea to cross over time. And that if one were to write the Bible today,
If T.I.
it would say things like, don't do an OnlyFans account, make sure that you have values as you go into your marriage, like whatever the things are that are going to lead to human flourishing in that moment.
Yeah.
And the reason that these ideas stay and cross through so much time is because they're so useful.
Right.
And that's where this gets really intriguing to me for people now. So going back to shared narratives.
Yeah.
Religion gave people shared narratives.
Yes.
They made it easier to make the right choices because you didn't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So
It's all prescribed for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a lot about culture stacks, meaning I don't have to rediscover electricity. I'm born into a world that has electricity. I don't have to rediscover the printing press or the wheel. And as we invent things like the printing press and the internet, now all of a sudden ideas can travel fast.
Right.
My growing concern is that there's too much velocity of information now.
My growing concern,
We'll set that aside.
abstract.
But religion was sort of that initial way to get these ideas to, for the smart ideas in culture to be easily transmissible to the next generation so that they could stand on the shoulder of giants.
Okay. So to make them concise and clear so people know what they're doing, don't have to think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just,
she
you
just
follow.
shortened his long ass soliloquy there. She just shortened that shit because she's direct outcome.
The word of God
Yeah.
and things are going to be better. But now, if you had to abstract the values,
See, he Get your ENTP ass out of here.
that people should be imbuing as they come into a relationship, instead of necessarily saying because God said so, if you had to distill it to the values that just make humans thrive, what values are those?
It would be, is my behavior going to lead to a long-lasting, stable connection between the two of us?
Connection, stable, between the two of us, outcome.
Now, if we always...
You think that's better. So long-lasting relationships.
Long-lasting
initiate owner.
relationship.
Why is that good?
Because I think what happens with long-lasting, firstly, they're more likely to create a shared meaning and purpose.
Okay, that's one outcome.
Also, what happens is you end up knowing that you start to learn to reject things. If I know I'm going to stay with you forever, what will happen is I reject maybe, going to clubs every night because I know who I'm going to be home with. I reject dating multiple people at the same time. I reject sleeping around because I know where I'm ending up.
But why are those good things?
What I would say is the plethora of options reduces our satisfaction in anything anyway. So the idea, what monogamy does is it allows you to focus. It doesn't mean good or bad, but what I mean by this is if I'm only dating you and it's just you, at least in that 2-3 months where I'm just focusing on you, I either learn that you're the love of my life or I learn that you're terrible for me and I should never speak to you again.
Outcomes.
But if I dilute my experience with you by also talking to Tom, Dick, and Harry, what will happen is I'm wasting energy not realizing that you might be really bad for me, but I haven't noticed because I'm also seeing Tom, Dick, and Harry. Or you might be amazing for me. Again, I haven't noticed. So the reality is it creates internal chaos, whereas internal consistency will allow us to know what's good and bad for us and then remove ourselves or enjoying ourselves in what it is. But unfortunately,
Outcome.
The experience means that we end up being chaotic and we lose the ability to
don't like chaos,
to create an identity because we're almost spreading ourselves too thinly. So I think monogamy is a great way. It's a shortcut. It will either tell you we're going to work out or it'll tell you we're never going to work out, but at least I know through confining myself.
I know and she's trying to cut down on them fucking options. NI parents coming out, cutting down on these fucking options. It's kind of funny being NI parent versus an ENTP. ENTP loves possibilities.
To that space.
Okay, so limiting your options is a necessary thing for happiness.
I would say not necessarily limiting, but rejecting alternatives in order to
I don't understand the difference.
I don't understand the difference.
Limiting your options would be like you don't even pay attention to what the alternative could be and you just stick to what you know. Rejecting the alternatives is knowing what you have, knowing what the alternative would look like and having the strength to say I don't want it.
NI.
Okay, but how can you know the alternative? You talked about in the beginning, we just see too many people.
Yeah.
And that back in the day, it was easier because you didn't see as many people and you were pretty, but you were just pretty in your hometown and you were going to marry somebody in your hometown.
Yeah.
So if too many people is part of the problem set, it doesn't seem like awareness of all the options is necessary for thriving.
No, because it creates an illusion of options. What will happen is, just like if you were to open a Tinder account, luckily you probably never had to do any online dating, right?
Very fortunate.
You are incredibly fortunate, but what it looks like is you go in there and you're overwhelmed. So what would happen is the person would go on there and any single person can be easily replaced by the next swipe and the next swipe. So you end up applying minimal investment to each person. Everybody becomes disposable, and then by the end of it you don't want to spend time with any of them because they've all just replaced each other, whereas minimal kind of exposure means that I have the time and social battery and energy to invest in each person and then figure out who's right for me. But when I'm just swiping and there's millions of options, I don't actually realize what's good or bad for me.
You can reboot your life.
But she is not bullshitting. She's directing the fuck out of that.
Promise you it's lower, but that could also I want to preface that could also be because there's a stigma associated to divorce in cultures which practice arranged marriages.
Yes.
So it could be
40%.
Okay,
I don't know that I believe this.
Yeah, have a look at the divorce rates in somewhere like be with what you got through being able to reject the alternatives.
Interesting. So one, I think arranged marriages are a terrible idea, but I don't know that this is true, but I've heard something about divorce rates being lower in arranged marriages.
Yeah, they're the lowest.
All right, that's true.
See, he preferenced that. He's trying to find the truth. I don't know, but I heard this. He's giving you context that he might be wrong here. That's what them informative TI users do, the NTPs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, this is one of those times, Axel, pull that shit up. I want to know if that's really true. If divorce rates in arranged marriages really are lower, then
they should be.
There is something. Okay, the divorce rate for arranged marriages is estimated at 4%, while the divorce rate where people choose their partners is estimated to be close to 40%.
Okay,
I don't know that I believe this.
Yeah, have a look at the divorce rates in somewhere like India or somewhere where like the arranged marriages are prominent. But I would promise you it's lower. But that could also, I want to preface that could also be because there's a stigma associated to divorce in cultures which practice arranged marriages.
Yes.
So it could be mitigated by that. But on the whole, I would like...
She's talking about the biases, TI.
To think that from what I remember, arranged marriages have the lowest levels of divorce. Because people who engage in arranged marriages don't do it with the purpose of assuming that love is the glue that keeps you together forever.
Okay, so love isn't the glue that keeps us together?
Whereas when you go into a marriage...
What is the glue?
Well, I would say it's different for most people, but I would imagine that most people, what I would imagine is the glue is a duty to one another's well-being and the function of the marriage. I would imagine that the glue that keeps a relationship together is, even though we might have a rough year, a rough 5 years, a rough 10 years even, but your well-being matters to me and my well-being matters to you. And so therefore, making sure that we engage in a lifelong purpose of maintaining that and the duty that we created towards one another when we made our vows is more important than how we're feeling right now. It's a bit like if you signed a 10-year contract with a basketball team. If you're a basketball player, you might hate it some months, you might love it some seasons, whatever it is, but you're committed to the purpose and the duty that the contract suggested.
This is very interesting. Okay, so a duty to one another's well-being.
Why do you disagree with arranged marriage? Sorry to...
Uh-oh, she just initiated. Why do you...
interrupt you, but
Not
why?
at all.
Why do you disagree with arranged marriages?
Okay, so you and I share a lot of values. If we were to lay out what values we think people need to have in order to have a successful marriage, I actually will be very surprised if they are at all different.
Yeah.
I rebel against authority so violently.
You see that? This is one of the ways ENTPs get you. Okay. They get your ass to agree on something, and then they come at you. Okay, go back. This is how ENTPs get you.
Why do you disagree with arranged marriage? Sorry to interrupt you, but
Not at all.
Why do you disagree with arranged marriage?
Get you to agree on something.
Marriages.
Okay, so you and I share a lot of values. If we were to lay out what values we think people need to have in order to have a successful marriage, I actually will be very surprised if they are at all different.
Yeah.
I rebel against authority so violently, you can't imagine. One of my primary values is autonomy. So I cannot live in a world where somebody gets to tell me who to love. I need to be free to be a moron.
Pragmatic.
And
it is for me, it is authoritarian to oppose something like that top down.
Okay, did you rebel against your parents' authority when you were younger? What was it about the way that they relayed orders to you that you didn't like?
They wanted me to do something I didn't want to do. My parents were incredibly loving. I have no beef. If you watch me,
you tell the difference. Like, she grew up traditional. Like, she's naturally affiliative, and he is naturally pragmatic. Two different natures. Don't tell me what the fuck to do.
You would have thought I was a brat. You wouldn't have thought, oh, his parents are really mean or anything.
Yeah.
Yep, I just don't do well with that. Which we could easily derail into why I think from an evolutionary standpoint, the tribe needs some people like me. They need some people like you, my wife. Like, they need all of it. I just had a conversation yesterday with Gad Sad, and he was saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't be this way. And I was like, actually, I think it's good that the tribe has your style of communication, which can be very aggressive, very satirical, but it's good that we have that perspective. So I don't think as a tribe...
That's all, T.I. I'm done here. This woman's... I just let her keep going just to hear her talk and hear Tom talk, because I love listening to those guys. But she's initiating, okay? She's abstract. She knows people's motives, so she's interest. She knows people's motives. She talks about it a lot. She's not talking about systems or frameworks or anything like that, or the best way to do something. She's direct. She's direct in the conversation. She's affiliative. She's outcome focused. She's SENI, okay? So with that being said, we got her as a ENFJ. And for ranking, you guys know we rank everybody based off them. Top is demigod, second is prodigy, third is above average, fourth is average, fifth is below average, and sixth is well shit. Obviously, this woman is not well shit. She's very good with TI inferior. Very good. She's TI inferior aspiration. So we're gonna hit her with prodigy. I don't think she's quite there to. She's not demigod. Okay. People aren't fucking up her type. Look like personality database did pretty good at finding her type. And Enneagram, she's gonna be a 2. W. 3. She's got some vanity, but she's all about helping and stuff like that. So yeah. Looks like personality database actually got this right, but they have limited voting. I guarantee if it kept going, she'd fuck it up. Somebody voted ENTJ, 3 people voted INFJ, and 4 people voted ENFJ. So, yes, we got an ENFJ. So, guys, I am going to be doing an all-inclusive video of the top 5 things I think can take somebody from well shit to prodigy if they actually do these 5 things. Over the course of time, it will take them from well shit to prodigy. I'm gonna be dropping that video sometime this week. So look forward to see what you guys say. E. Kevin's always asking me, hey man, what can I do? What can I do? People always ask me, what can I do to develop more and things like that. So I've come up with 5 things that I think regardless of type, if you do these 5 things, you will separate yourself, and you will at least, if you do this shit for at least a year, I would probably say, even if you will shit, you probably jump to average category. 2 to 3 years, you're gonna go to above average prodigy, and man, to get the demigod is like virtually impossible. That's the 1%. So yeah, but hey, we'll be dropping that video tomorrow, so you guys stick with us and comment below what you guys thought. I'm out.